Hey everybody, it's been some time. A lot's happened. Last movie I think we reviewed was Alex had reminded me was Deadpool
Yep.
and Wolverine.
hmm
A lot's happened since then. Alex got married.
And David got engaged.
A lot of life things have
Yeah,
changed, but we finally were able to find time to review something because a lot of things were coming up. A lot of movies came up, but I think it was like we just either didn't have time to review it or it just wasn't a movie that was really interesting enough for us to want to review.
yeah, it didn't really
Like,
pique our interest.
yeah, like, did you see the newest Venom movie?
No,
I saw it. It was not
no.
worth. It was yeah.
Uh,
I fell asleep honestly.
Oof, David. I don't know about that one, man.
Yeah, and then but yeah, we're here for the new show on. It's not HBO Max anymore. It's
It's just
Max.
Max. Yeah,
Yeah, I keep forgetting that it's Max for Creature Commandos,
Creature
which
Commandos.
I pulled it up on. I couldn't find the actual synopsis, like the official release synopsis, but I'm gonna read off what it says on Wikipedia.
Uh, go for it.
So it says here Creature Commandos is an American adult animated television series based on a DC Comics eponymous team. Produced by James Gunn, DC Studios, and Warner Brothers Animation. It is the first television series and first installment to the DC universe. It focuses on a Black Ops team of monsters assembled by Amanda Waller. All episodes were written and created by series creator James Gunn, with Dean Lorey as showrunner and Yves Balak Fitzgerald as supervising director. I don't know who those people are, but
Uh,
I'm sorry if I butcher their names. Uh, it says here also the premise.
mhm.
After the events of The Suicide Squad in 2021 and the first season of Peacemaker in 2022, Amanda Waller assembles a Black Ops team of monsters called the Creature Commandos, led by General Rick Flag Sr. Yeah.
It,
So, as the time of our recording on December 15th, 3 episodes are currently out.
yep.
We literally just watched the third episode, both of us on our own time, like right before this recording.
Yeah, pretty much.
Um, but yeah, I mean, did you want to start off, Alex, with at least with episode one first, like your thoughts and how you and what you thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, episode one, I really liked it. So at the beginning, I got confused with it because I knew it took place after Suicide Squad. But when I saw Ric Flair, I was like, what the fuck? I thought he was dead. Right? But then it was like, oh, he's a senior. Oh. And, okay, so I do like how they're tying it in uh, with the Suicide Squad live action movie. Peacemaker, presumably, with the live action TV show, and now Creature Commandos, which is, a cartoon, an animated adaptation. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I saw an interview with James Gunn recently. So my understanding is what is canon is what they mention. If they don't
Yeah.
mention it, you can't assume it's canon. So they have also already said like with Peacemaker, that essentially is canon, and Suicide Squad because they mentioned Project Starfish or whatever. That's
That's pretty
canon.
cool, yeah.
The only thing
Especially,
that's not canon is like anything that's referenced to the Justice League because the Justice League does not
zeitgeist.
exist. Yeah, but yeah, when they so another interesting thing is because a lot of the actors. So the deal is whoever plays these characters in animation will play them in live action. That's if these characters make it through in
Ah,
this whole series,
yeah.
right? Because this is essentially their new Suicide Squad
It
creation.
seems like it.
And funny story to me is just because the guy that plays what's his name, Rick Flag Sr.
Yeah.
Uh, he is played by I just forgot his name right now. Let me pull it up. Also, my headphones just cut out.
Dude.
Give me a second.
Okay. Technical difficulties. David's got to get some new headphones.
They just cut out, like disconnected. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out what it is. If
Okay.
it's dead, then I'm gonna switch to my other headphones.
See? Gotta go analog like I do. Yeah, you
Give me a
can't hear me
second.
now.
Guess I'll switch to the Corsair headphones.
Ooh, the fancy
And these will
ones.
be charged.
See, that's why. Gonna go battery. Gonna keep this all in. Wally frantically searches for his new Corsair Adobe Atmos headphones, which are probably like what, $70. Charging us $500 headphones. Funny enough, those Corsair headphones also have a battery, so let's hope they're charged. Bum bum bum. Oh, David. Okay, he's got it. Hey, he's close. Hey, well, now we're both wearing gaming headphones. The G. Huh.
And let me change the settings on here really quick.
Right. Almost there.
Input.
Input lag.
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
All right, cool.
They disconnected. I heard like one end go off and then the other end like boom. I was like, oh, I'm fucked.
Dude, you should have charged them.
No, it's just the AirPod Maxes. I think it's just because they're a little older now. The battery's just not as great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should get analog because that's all
So,
going to have a cable.
So Rick Flag Sr.
Mm-hmm.
is played by Frank Grillo in the show.
Yeah, in the show.
Who was in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. He played Crossbones.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
That's so cool.
So it's fun fact, a funny. I think it's interesting to hear because I saw an interview. He said essentially the reason he kind of like said yes to this was the world that James Gunn was building. He was very interested, but also because he was interested in the idea that he wasn't going to just be a one-off character, and that he essentially is going to be able to appear in other shows or televisions or films, animated or whatnot.
Yeah,
that now whoever, what?
Throughout.
Yeah. So whoever like puts Rick Flag Sr. in there, he's in. But also I find it funny because Frank Grillo, I think he's like 5'10". I think his height's like, yeah, he's like 5'10". And then what's the name of the guy that played Rick Flag Jr.?
Junior? I don't know his name.
Let me pull it up really quick.
Pull it up.
Joel Kinnaman.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Kinnaman is 6'2". Wow, so it's like, so I'm just like, he's so much taller.
Well, yeah, I mean that happens. I can see that.
Yeah, no, I think it's just because whenever I see Frank Grillo and I imagine him comparing the like body structure and everything compared to Joel Kinnaman, he just feels a bit more stocky.
Yeah.
Than Kinnaman, because Kinnaman, I think he's like, I think the guy's like, yeah, he's Swedish, born and raised in Sweden.
Oh,
so
I
it's
didn't
like
know
tall.
That. Yeah. So lumberjack tall.
Yeah, so it was just fun. And I thought it was just something that was a little funny to me when I thought about it, like as the actors.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought I do like that they mentioned, he's essentially kind of like, at least for Rick Flag Sr.
Yeah.
Like he's still kind of dealing with the loss of his son. Yeah. And then is it me or is it interesting that because they introduced in the beginning of the show, episode 1, like, oh, here are all these people, like we're able to use them because they're not human.
Yeah.
So it's not Task Force. It's not Task Force X. Right?
Yeah.
Is it not Task Force X or is it something else?
No, that's Deadpool, dude.
Oh, then what is? Because I know they have X in theirs as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is, but it's right. They always borrow something.
Let me see. I'm gonna look at it really quick. Task Force X. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, it is Task Force X. But but at the same time, when she said that, I was like, but King Shark, like, was he human or was he just some shark guy?
Yeah, what
You
happened
know,
to him though?
I don't know. But that was something that I had to think about because they're saying like, oh, we can't use incarcerated criminals to do our bidding, so we're using like we can't use humans, so we're not using humans this time. I was like,
And
okay, but
she
oh, what
did
were you gonna say?
mention that Weasel survived.
Yeah, so
So
Weasel.
Weasel.
But I'm like, okay, I can kind of see what they're saying, but at the
Hmm.
same time, like there's a, like uh who was it? Dr. Phosphorus. I think he has a backstory where he at least was a human.
Yeah, yeah, he was a human.
Yeah, so I mean technically they're still
Well,
human.
but he's not anymore. I mean,
I
Bride,
guess.
she was a
I
human.
oh yeah, true. I mean she was a human. She was kind of more so stitched together with other
I
human
mean,
body
still,
parts.
she,
But
her brain was living.
that is true.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I like the introduction of like the characters in the prison,
yeah,
but I did find it interesting that they don't have a bomb in their brains anymore, or like in their necks.
yeah. I
It's
did find
just
that interesting. It's just shot
it's just
caller.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're definitely not trying to kill anyone off, or
No,
at least
yeah,
intentionally try to kill people.
exactly. And that's probably why they're like, okay, let's not do that because you remember the first, just fuck, the first one
Mm,
where they did kill like Strider off.
mm.
That was it. That was like, yeah. At least with the shock, you can shock him throughout.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I did. Yeah, I like the interact, like the introduction of like essentially the team.
Yeah.
Weasel seemed like Weasel from the movies, exactly
Weasel's
how he
gonna weasel.
was. GI Robot. What did you think of GI Robot?
Interesting.
Yes,
I liked. It gives it more variety. Let's go with that.
I thought it was interesting when they introduced him, and
Mm.
he's like, are you a Nazi?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's all he's programmed for.
Yeah, that is true. And then yeah, Doctor Phosphorus,
Hmm.
who's played by Alan Tudyk,
Which I
who
love.
also voices there's a Harley Quinn animated show.
Yeah,
He voices Clayface in that
that's
show.
that's funny.
And right as of this recording, James Gunn already announced that they're working on a Clayface project. I don't know if it's like animated or what,
I
but
saw
it's going to
that.
be part of the DCU.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
And Alan Tudyk already like told like announced that he accidentally revealed that he voices Clayface in uh in uh
Harley
in
Quinn.
Creature Commandos.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So that means if logic is correct, he could be playing Clayface in whatever show or live action thing that they do.
I mean, I can see that. My thing is, okay, so you know how the Harley Quinn Clayface is?
Yeah.
Is it gonna be that same portrayal or like
No.
that same personality? Ooh, no.
It's so Alan Tudyk already said like the way he approaches this version of Clayface is going to be different than how he did with the Harley Quinn TV show.
All right, I'm
It's not
excited
going to be
now.
as comedic.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was an interesting approach for that one.
Yeah, and then there's Nina, who's like she's kind of amphibious humanoid person,
Oh, yeah, you know
right?
Hellboy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, just like the sidekick.
yeah.
Or, yeah,
Except the side. Well, I forgot? Does the sidekick wear like a fish suit, or he has like something around his neck,
he
right,
has
around
something
his
around his
knees?
neck.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And then yeah, and they're let. Oh, the bride. Almost forgot her.
That we talked about her too.
Yeah, and then obviously they're led by Rick Flag Senior.
Yeah,
And the whole so they are episode one. You find out like there's a princess from a country called Pokolistan.
yep,
They're really leaning into making like how the DC universe comics they have made up countries.
yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, so I like that. And so they're going to Pokolistan because Cersei, who they reveal in episode one, is an Amazonian, which from my understanding, based on what they showed in the first episode, Amazonians are a totally new concept to people still. Like no one really
Yeah.
knows if they're where they really came from. And they say basically Cersei is trying to become the new leader of Pokolistan, right? She's
Pretty
trying to
much, yeah.
overthrow them, uh, and she wants. Well, they don't really explain why she wants to overthrow, but I think it has to do something with Themyscira.
I mean, probably. And also, it's like, okay, her followers are pretty, you know, they follow. They're pretty good at following.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, so they introduced us to the characters. I thought it was pretty interesting. Um, I'm trying to think because when you first meet the princess with the team,
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of weird to see how much the princess was like really like he was really into Rick Flag Senior.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is getting awkward. This is weird.
Yeah. I was like,
Like I'm sure, obviously, stuff like this happens in real life, but at the same time, to see it on camera, I was like,
yeah, when I was watching the first two episodes, I was on a plane.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That must have been awkward.
Very. I did not realize how far they would go. And I'm like, it's a good thing I have a window seat. Just gonna turn the
Yeah,
screen.
and in episode, I mean, if we're gonna just talk about episode 1 and 2 in general as a whole, since
We might
that's
as
how
well.
we released it.
Yeah.
Um, I did like there's so how do you feel about Dr. Phosphorus right now? I feel like it's weird. Like you can't really trust him because there was that moment where he tried to break into Rick Flag Sr.'s room
Yeah.
to get the device that has the like that electrocutes them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have this huge like this fight that happens in the castle because they stay overnight at the princess's castle.
Yeah.
And the whole time they were fighting, I was like, how the fuck is he punching him? Because if he grabs you and that already fucking burns, like just punching him would hurt too.
Yes.
Yeah, I that's just something that I had thought about when I was watching it. I was like,
Right.
because the whole time he was fighting, I was so worried. Like, I already knew. So I don't know if you saw any images that were already released.
No.
Rick Flag Sr. is in the Superman movie, which takes place after Creature Commandos. So I knew he was gonna survive no matter what. But at the same time, knowing that Dr. Phosphorus was like, he's just made of like acid and stuff. Like
Phosphorus.
yeah,
Phosphorus.
like he could burn you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, how do you fucking fight this guy?
Yeah, you'd need like a pan. Like you're not gonna bare fist him. Bare fist.
No.
Right?
But yeah, is there anything was there anything in the first 2 episodes that caught your eye?
I mean, I really like the music.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Music, I feel there's something that it's kind of like I don't know how to describe the sound.
So it's like East European.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially in the intro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've listened to that artist before.
Mm.
And so when I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's this guy. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I just totally forgot about. Claire, because I watched the first 3 episodes with Claire. She really likes how DC, like when it pops up on the show, it's just DC comics and it flips to Superman.
Yeah.
And then it just fades.
Yeah.
Yeah, Claire said she likes that a lot more than
Marvel
right now because Marvel, like, you wait like a couple seconds.
You just kind of, it's got to go through this. Oh, look at all our movies that we've done.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. I was telling Claire, like, I like that, the DC symbol flips and it's Superman because he is essentially, like, to me, when I see that, I interpret it as he is what built this universe.
And it's
And
the
we're
old Superman.
yeah, and I also like it because it shows to me with James Gunn and like Peter Safran in charge of DCU,
Hmm.
they're really harkening back to like the golden age of DC Comics, like like the old age of comics where the heroes weren't just trying to be edgy for the sake of edginess.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so I liked it. I thought it was like a nice callback, a nice kind of reflection of history.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah. Um, they really have only showed us like Rick Flag Senior a little bit.
Yep.
They told like in the first episodes a little bit of Dr. Phosphorus, just more so like can't really trust them too much.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, you
and the
need that kind of
bride,
conflict in there too.
yeah. Well, what was that?
You need that kind of conflict in there too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because they're not just going to go willy nilly. They're just not going to go along willingly. So they're just like, okay, a
yeah.
little conflict. And then in the future, we'll work together more.
I will say like kind of the comedy and the action and whatnot, like the drama. First watching took me a couple seconds to kind of like get with.
Yeah.
I think it's more so for me just because like we've seen shows made by Marvel, animated or whatnot, and then we've seen shows made by like Invincible on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't really sure, like knowing that it was James Gunn and having seen what he did live action like the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. I wasn't really too sure how his type of like writing and comedy would transfer over to animation.
Oh, right.
So at first, for me, the beats were kind of like everywhere. Like the
Mm-hmm.
first episode, at least, it felt like things were moving really fast, a lot of cuts and stuff, and it was kind of hard for me to follow along. But as it went on, it was easier to just kind of like feel the story.
Yeah. He's getting in the groove of things.
Yeah, and it definitely feels more like Invincible in sense of like gore, action, and comedy.
Oh, I mean, they are cursing.
Yeah, it no, it feels like yeah, like Invincible slash what's the forgot the boys
Oh, yeah, the boys.
because it feels like that kind of has that gruesomeness
Mm-hmm.
of the boys kind of because the comedy itself makes me think I'm just not Family Guy, obviously not Family
No.
Guy, but something about the comedy is just kind of not I don't know how to describe it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely different from what like how it is on Invincible.
Oh, yeah. Because Invincible's more serious tone.
Which it's kind of interesting because it's produced Invincible is produced by Seth Rogen.
That's pretty funny. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's just I don't know how to describe it. I think the comedy. I think it's really the comedy that took me time to like get with.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. And then they also kind of in the first episode, 2 episodes, they introduce you to the bride and
Mm-hmm.
her backstory of how she was made. Which I have a lot of questions now because when I was talking to Claire about this, I was like, "So you're telling me Frankenstein and the bride exist in this universe?"
Yeah.
So they're not like some fairy tale story that you could just say like off the like you can just say as a like a backhand compliment or whatever like how Marvel would do it. Like, do you remember in what was the Marvel movie with Kumail Nanjiani? Forgot the name of it right now.
The Marvels.
It's no, not the Marvel. Uh, it had the guy that it had one of the guys from two of the guys from Game of Thrones.
Oh, you're talking about the Eternals.
Yeah, the Eternals. So, like
And that one had
in the
Cersei.
Eternals, well, in the Eternals, remember that kid comes out like, "Oh wow, you're like Superman," and
Oh,
it's that little
yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like those little backhand compliments, so they're not part of this universe,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they exist, but they're just comic book characters in that
Yeah.
universe. So here, like Frankenstein and the Bride aren't just like
a novel.
characters. Yeah, they're not just like from a novel. They are real,
Yeah.
which I'm trying to get my mind wrapped around. Like that's kind of weird.
Why?
I don't know. It's because when I think of Frankenstein, I think of like Universal films,
Yeah.
right? And how it's like to me it's just such a different IP that it's a part of this universe.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that IP is probably in the public domain.
True,
Yeah.
that is true. I think it's just because I go to Universal Studios a lot, so like there I was like,
You see a
oh,
lot
we
of
made the
Frankenstein.
first, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah. So you learning about the bride's backstory was very interesting. I think
Yeah. Really heavy on
you
there. And
you
again,
find
I watched it on
yeah
the plane.
like you find out she essentially was made to be Frankenstein's wife. Like that was her sole purpose.
Yes.
And I also found it wasn't there some because there's a point in the show where because the bride and Nina leave. Nina really just follows the bride because she's like, "What are you doing? We shouldn't be
Yeah, pretty
leaving."
much.
A bit of a goody two shoes.
Yep.
And when they get to this mansion that's like all boarded up,
Mm.
if I remind me, there's an old like babushka lady
Oh, yeah.
that like picks up the phone and calls
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Okay, yeah. So I remember that. So he calls Frankenstein. And then you have the bride walking through this house, and that's when they kind of like start off this background story of like how she was created.
Yeah, pretty much. Her backstory.
And she you can tell from the get-go, like in the beginning when she first meets Frankenstein is kind of like the obsessive, like not even boyfriend. He's like
Well, yeah, because he doesn't know how to act, and he's been wanting a bride. Now he has one. He's like, oh, fuck, yeah, okay, great, I can do this. But he's too lovey. He's love
Yeah.
bombing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's the word, love bombing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she doesn't like. She doesn't. I don't even think she likes him from the beginning though. Like she freaks out when she sees him.
Well, that's because he's not being gentle.
Yeah,
He's being selfish.
and then they kind of show her backstory uh of her while this is going on, while they're gone. By the way, I totally forgot to mention Rick Flag Sr. because he got into a fight with Dr. Phosphorus. Dr. Phosphorus was trying to grab the controller. Going back to that, he gets stitched up by the princess, which then the princess makes her move because Rick Flag Sr. is like, oh, you know, like he talks about his son, about how if you had met my son, like you two would have gotten along so well. And she goes, oh, I normally like older men.
Which I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she straight up, like he tries to stop her, and then she straight up like gets into his face and just starts like making out.
I mean, I make it.
And I love that scene where the soldier comes by like, where's the princess? I need to talk to the princess.
Oh, that's
like
fucking
not now.
hilarious.
Yeah, like she's a little busy right now,
Yeah.
buddy. Like Dr. Phosphorus. Who else was outside in front like in front door? Was it
Weasel.
GI robot? And
Weasel.
was it Weasel? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all just outside the
just
door.
waiting.
Like
Yeah.
and apparently the news was that the bride and Nina were gone, right?
Yeah.
I think that was what the
That
soldier
was the
wanted
news.
to tell them. And yeah, so and then while that's going on, like while Nina and the bride are at the castle, Rick Flag's getting busy.
Oh, yeah.
And funny story on that, I saw in an interview, James Gunn said he had Frank Grillo, who voices Rick Flag Sr., right?
Mm-hmm.
And the person that voices the princess, Ilana Rostovic, is Maria Bakalova. Another fun fact, she voices. Do you remember in Guardians 3, the dog that talks?
Oh, yeah.
The
space dog.
What's the name? Yeah, I'm trying to look. It's Cosmo.
Cosmo.
She voices Cosmo.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, so he had her and Frank Grillo basically like record themselves as if they're making out. Like like making like they're kissing their hands and
Yeah.
whatnot, trying to like just for hours, just making that noise. So apparently they said that was a very interesting experience.
I mean,
But yeah, so while they're doing their business, uh the bride is trying to she's trying to find a necklace, right?
yep.
In this mansion because you get some flashbacks. It shows her trying to learn human interaction and learn how to speak. She's being taught by, is it Dr. Frankenstein? Is that
Yes.
what we call him?
Yep.
Victor Frankenstein. So, but as he's trying to teach her, you can tell there's like,
Oh yeah, he spin his boobs on her.
yeah, there's like, there's some tension here. Like not tension, but like romantic tension. Like
Yeah,
for sure there's some stuff going on.
Some canoodling.
Yes. And then there and then he gives her a necklace
Mhm.
which has like a red diamond in the center. And it cuts and then later on throughout some more flashbacks as they're walking around trying to find this necklace, it cuts to them actually having sex.
Yeah, which again was on a plane.
Yes. Wait, did you have headphones on or
Thankfully, yeah. What do you think I am doing? I'm not a monster. Of course, I had headphones on.
Yeah, they had headphones on. Which is great because that it was super loud. When I was watching it with Claire, I was like, this is awkward.
You're like, hey babe, you in the mood?
No, I was like, I don't know. Whenever I see sex scenes on TV, and especially when other people are around me, it feels so awkward.
Even with your fiance?
It feels like I'm watching it with my parents, in that sense. It's like that feeling of when when it comes on and you don't expect it, and you're watching it with your parents. You're kind of like, oh.
Yeah. Again, all these sex scenes in here, you don't see it coming really.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, they're alluding something, and then next frame, next scene, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
no, they're naked now. I was like, what?
But they also show that when Victor Frankenstein and the bride are getting to business, Frankenstein is like standing there with flowers and everything.
Yeah,
And he's
poor guy.
watching the whole thing happen.
I felt for him, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, I see. It says on Wikipedia his name is Eric Frankenstein, who also voiced by David Harbour.
Yeah, Stranger Things.
Yeah, who also is in Marvel.
Yeah, Red Guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
So, I mean, if Frankenstein makes it through the series and doesn't die at all, there's a possibility if they bring him back for live action, David Harbour.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So he sees this whole thing happen. Eric Frankenstein. And then the next cutscene we have, like to the flashback, what was the bride bringing? She had a gift for Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah, I don't remember what was
The gift, right? But she had something.
She has something.
She comes in, she's like, oh, I found something to give to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear Eric Frankenstein, David Harbour, like, he was getting in the way between us.
Yeah, little boy.
He's like kind of crazy-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see that he straight up just like ripped Victor Frankenstein like almost in half.
Almost.
And just hung him upside down on the.
Yeah, he totally contorted him, his body.
Yeah.
And whatnot. I was like, oh.
Yeah, so
But, I mean,
that was intense.
Yeah, but I can't really blame him for doing that because it's like, okay, that was Dr. Victor made the bride for Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it looked like it's like Victor didn't even help Frankenstein.
That's
Just
true.
being like, hey, I'll be a bro. I'm gonna help you get this, get her on your side. Nah, he just totally was like, oh, now I'm just gonna fuck her.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right.
Yeah. So that kind of it shows like from that ever since then, like because they do get into a fight right?
Yeah.
The bride and Frankenstein, and I forgot how she gets him off of him, like how she wins essentially to get away.
Well, I mean,
But
the fire broke out and she kind of just ran away.
oh yeah, that's true.
And then next
Because
cutscene is like them running through time, just trying
yeah,
to. He's trying to capture her.
it's like a montage of
Yep.
like their lives throughout the centuries of how she's just trying to live her normal life,
Yep.
and he just constantly is finding her, love bombing her,
Yep.
trying to get her to like. And he even tries to force himself onto her a couple times. Like they
Yeah.
show, like he's trying to kiss
Yeah.
her and stuff. Um, yeah. Um, but so that like seeing that, I felt really bad for the bride because I feel like she just wants to be alone, just wants to be
Well,
left alone.
yeah. She is a person. She didn't
Yeah,
want to be created. She didn't ask for that. It was
yeah,
Frankenstein was just being selfish. She's like, oh, I should have a bride. Create me a
yeah,
bride, but he's not. Considering her feelings.
yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't really try
Um,
to win her over.
yeah, and while they're at the castle,
Yeah.
not the castle, at this mansion, Victor Frankenstein's mansion, uh, they basically get they essentially get ambushed.
Yep.
Is that the correct word?
Yeah.
Because they were being followed the whole time by Cersei's men,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah.
So they get ambushed, and then Cersei comes in, and I thought it was cool to see the bride fight Cersei,
Yeah. That was a
like
nice
just
fight
kind of
scene.
going all out fighting. And as this fight's going on, we cut back to the castle where like Doc Foster's like, oh, by the way, like the bride and Nina are gone. And Rick's like, what? He's like, why did you tell me? He's like, hey, I was trying to be a bro.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so they essentially try to drive off to pick them up, and which is when
Mhm.
they find out that there's a fight going on over there with Cersei and her men, the bride and Nina.
Yeah.
Yeah, so episode two, like this is all the way obviously leading into episode two already, but with episode two, with that whole thing happening, as the fight goes on, you think the bride is gonna win
I thought she was gonna win for
because she
sure.
got on top of Cersei, was like wailing on
Oh
her,
yeah.
and then I don't know what fucking magic was used, but like she turns her arms into like balloon arms, like Cersei
Oh
turns
yeah.
the bride's arms to like those weird balloon arms, and it's the bride's like, what the fuck?
That was hilarious.
So that, and then the episode essentially ends with Nina, her, because she has to have water to survive, so she
Yeah.
has this kind of water suit. The
With a
suit
helmet.
gets cracked open. The
Mhm.
helmet, the glass helmet gets broken, cracked, and everything, so she can't breathe. She's on the floor. The bride gets kicked off the.
Balcony.
Does she get kicked off, or I forgot if she gets kicked off or she like loses grip.
I don't remember.
But she falls off the balcony. I
Mhm.
thought she was gonna get pierced because there was like a little church thing or something on top of
Oh.
the roof. I thought she was gonna land on that, but she lands on the floor,
Yeah.
and her and Nina are laying there. She says to Nina, "I'm sorry," right? And Nina's response was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
And then that ends. And I remember sitting there with episode two, and I was like, "Did they? They didn't die. They couldn't have died, right?"
Right. Yeah. No.
And then episode three, the team arrives to the house, and uh, they they come in. They're on the floor, and I can't remember because we literally just saw it.
Mhm.
There was no one in the house. It was a decoy,
Yeah.
right? Except for the bride and Nina, it was all a decoy. Like they literally tied up the bride and they put Nina in a bathtub with water and put like what's it called, wires
Mhm.
around so she couldn't get out. But this whole episode was like really about GI Robot and his backstory.
Yeah. Him having like flashbacks.
Yeah, which is interesting because they do point out that he's essentially an AI who
Really?
doesn't really realize he's an AI yet.
Yeah, because he's not really programmed to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, Nazi.
Yeah.
Let's kill. You
He's
know?
like, "Are you a Nazi?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see with GI Robot, his whole backstory, like him in World War II,
Hmm.
him with soldiers. I also pointed out with Claire, like it's really interesting to see this because they're showing like while the DCU had similar historical moments that happened in their world with that like with our actual
Yeah.
world, there's some slight changes in the history like GI Robot and like you see later in episode 3 some of the soldiers of the princess's men are like literally flying around on jetpack in the metallic armors.
Yeah.
And I sat there watching thinking to myself like how would you pull this off in live action and not make it look funny?
That's probably why they're like, oh, animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see GI Robot's backstory, which I feel like he's a little unhinged. GI Robot,
Well, yeah.
like he kills all the Nazis, and they show like him with the soldiers of World War II, like they're celebrating.
Yeah.
He seems very happy to be in that moment, and then it cuts to like later flashback where he's getting introduced to TV to the world,
Hmm.
and he's like, do you have did you check everyone's backgrounds here like in the audience? He's like, no, why would we? He's like, they could be Nazis. He's like, why would they be a Nazi? No one here is a Nazi. And then the GI Robot's like, that's what a Nazi would say. And I got so scared for that interviewer. I'd be like, bro, like I don't want a job anymore.
Dude,
Like
honestly.
I would have just like, let's cut this.
Yeah. It's like, no, no.
Yeah. And then they because they show when they're doing this talk show thing with GI Robot,
Hmm.
there's a there's a professor that's talking to like a general or something. Oh, he's interesting because he seems like he's a AI.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, the general says like GI Robot was made by scientists for the military, but we're gonna decommission him after this. And the scientist, when he starts trying to study GI Robot, and he said he was trying to create new automatons. My first thought was the Red Tornado,
Ooh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let me see. Red Tornado.
I forgot about that.
Let me see if I can find this background of who created him.
Because, yeah, last time I saw Red Tornado was, the Justice League animated series.
Yeah. Oh no, it's because I the it says the villain was T.O. Morrow
Hmm.
tomorrow,
Oh, God.
but I don't think that was the name of the scientist that was studying GI Robot.
Right.
But that was my first thought when I heard he's like, "Oh, I'm trying to create new automaton." My first thought was yeah, Red
Yeah.
Tornado. But you see that interaction with society, and I'm like, GI Robot should not be in front of people
No.
for sure, because
And later we'll see why.
oh yeah, because they do that cut the next flashback of like
Yeah.
he essentially is in like a thrift shop or not a thrift shop, like what are they called? A memorabilia store,
Oh,
right? Like what are they called? Like people just come in, they trade in their stuff for money, and it's not thrift shop, right?
I'm blanking on it as well.
Stores to sell.
Pawn shop.
Pawn shop. Yeah. Yeah, so he's at a pawn shop, and some guy at the pawn shop is like, oh yeah, he apparently used to be part of the military, but and he gets sold by this guy with kind of not a little heavy looking,
Yeah.
who has a lot of cats. Which, by the way, that guy that buys GI Robot, I caught it when I heard his voice. It's Michael Rooker.
Oh, shit.
You know, James Gunn does movies with them all the time. He was in Guardians, right?
Yeah.
As Yondu,
Hmm.
and then he was also in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the villain that he plays, but he was like just throwing the ball around, killing a bird in the beginning of the movie.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy that buys GI Robot is own. He it looks they show like how he seems to just be a really big World War II fan.
Hmm.
Like he has all this memorabilia from World War II, and he lives with a bunch of cats. And they show them watching World War II movie, and he turns to GI Robot. And he's like, "Oh, isn't this nice to have a family?" And I was like, "Oh, that's like it's so nice." Like I wonder how this like I'm like how does this guy die?
Yeah.
Because I'm or like how does he lose GI Robot? And he brings GI Robot. He's like, "Oh, I'm taking you to a place with people like us, people that want to change the world for the better or whatever." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds it."
Yeah.
And when they show up at this like meeting, like I already had a feeling of what it was. I kind of
Oh yeah.
expected it already,
Right.
but it's revealed that it's a far right like neo-Nazi meeting.
Yeah.
And then J Robot fucking looks at it, and then he goes Nazis. And then he gets up, takes out his gun, and just points at Michael Rooker's character
Hmm.
and says goodbye, Nazi, and just shoots him. And he starts killing everyone in the
Yeah.
room. That was crazy. And I sat there and I was like, holy shit.
And now you know why he's in incarceration.
Yeah, you find out that's why he got incarcerated because
Yeah.
he essentially killed everyone, and he doesn't seem bothered by the incarceration though.
No, I mean he's chilling.
Yeah, he just sits there. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't really do
That's
anything.
all.
But that you find out that's why he's incarcerated, and then like cutting back to current time, uh, I love the interaction with Rick Flag Senior and the bride when he
Mhm.
rips off the tape from her mouth because she's screaming. They're like, "Where are they? Where are they?" And they like, "Are they in the?" It's like they rip it off. And he's like, they had this bickering moment where he's like, "Then why are you screaming?" He's like, "I wanted you to get the tape off my mouth."
That's hilarious. Yeah.
And then GI Robot goes up, finds Nina because the bride's like they took Nina upstairs. I don't know where she is, but
Mhm.
she's upstairs. You find Nina in the bathtub, and GI Robot just rips off the metal wirings that's like covering the tub so Nina can't get out. And that's when you realize it's all a setup because they realize like, oh, this was just a distraction for them to so they can get to the princess.
Yeah.
So they like book it back to the car. GI Robot literally carries Nina in the bathtub, puts her in the back, and they drive all the way back to the castle. And then it cuts to the castle where there's already a shootout going on, and I was so scared for the princess.
Oh yeah. I mean honestly.
Yeah, I was scared because the soldier that comes in to tell the princess like we're being attacked, like we got to get you out of here. He straight up gets cut like blown up in front of her, and then she runs for a bit, runs down a hall, and then she runs to one big dude who tries to basically rape her,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And then, uh, yeah, I don't know, the whole thing with the princess. I got so scared that she was gonna die in that moment. And she runs back to her bedroom. She locks the door, and she essentially grabs a gun and shoots both of the guys that were chasing her. And then, but Cersei comes in, which was really scary.
I mean honestly.
But we also, I'm jumping around a lot, but it's just because I think it's just so much happens
Yeah.
in different points, like different parts of the story, right? Different
That's
points
true,
happen. So it's kind of hard, like when you're talking about the princess, it's kind of hard to not just keep talking about the princess and then jumping back to whatever was happening. But back to like Rick Flag and the gang. I guess this is before the princess shoots the two guys that were chasing after her. Rick Flag and the gang show up at the castle, and they're kind of just like hiding under a fountain. And and I just heard Rick Flag Senior is like, "Oh no, GI Robot's like." He's like, General, are these Nazis? He's like, yes, GI, they're Nazis. And then he just starts shooting everyone. Like he straight up kills everyone. Like GI Robot shoots all the bad guys, and he starts floating up in the air and shoot. And he starts, if I remember correctly, he kind of laughs.
Yeah, I mean it's been what 70 years really for actual killing.
Yeah, so he shoots all the villains that are like around that are kind of surrounding them.
Mm-hmm.
But Cersei shows up, and she shows up because she blows up GI Robot.
Yeah. Oof.
She blows him up. Nina's very heartbroken about it. I don't know if Nina's in love with GI Robot or what, or she just saw him as like her
Probably
closest friend.
Kinship, yeah.
Maybe that, yeah. But yeah, so he gets blown up, and they see Cersei going after the princess.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember Nina going up to GI Robot, holding his head. And he's like, Nina. Look, he says something about them killing Nazis together. Like, look at us.
Oof.
Isn't it glorious?
That got me, man.
Yeah, it was really sad. Like, he's just even though he's technically not human, you still feel like.
Of course, yeah.
I feel like GI Robot's. He's trying to relive the glory days in that sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing he's programmed for.
Yeah. And then kind of cutting back to the castle with the princess and Cersei. I for sure thought the princess was gonna die at that point because Cersei like threw her through like her drawer, like her yeah, like threw her through it. And I thought at least like a piece of wood would stab her or something, but no, she's like threw her around and stuff and was about to blast her, and suddenly Weasel shows up.
Of course, this fucking Weasel.
Which I was surprised about that Weasel was actually hurting her. Because, then again, she's not like Wonder Woman, who's half or full, whatever, created from Zeus, from sand or whatnot.
Well, yeah, she's like a god, like a half goddess, like a demigod.
Yeah. So that makes sense then. Actually,
yeah, Cersei just knows magic.
That is true. Because I when I hear Amazonian, I think my mind automatically assumes
demigod.
Yeah, demigod, like Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, okay. Now that you say that, that makes sense because Weasel was like, he attacks her, scratches her up, and he starts fucking eating her. Like he starts biting into her, like ripping off.
I mean, that's Weasel.
And then, you know what I really like? Dr. Phosphorus, where he like stabs a guy with his hand.
Yeah,
he's like, shish kebab. He just burns him up. Yeah, and because Dr. Phosphorus shows up, because Weasel basically attacks Cersei, and they fall from the building all the way, like from the window all the way down to the first floor. And then Dr. Phosphorus comes up, and he says something before he does it, but he says something, and then he grabs her face and just like burns her face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I thought when that happened, I was like, don't tell me they killed Cersei already.
Hey man, episode 4, new villain.
Yeah, but I mean, I was like, oh damn, they kill her already. There's only 7 episodes, so this is gonna go by quick.
I mean, honestly, I thought they were okay. So this is like middle of the season right now.
Yeah, already.
Wow.
But yeah, so that it kind of just ends right there. So I'm very curious about what's gonna happen in episode 4 because I didn't sit through the whole credits, but I don't think they showed any hints of what's next, did they?
I didn't sit through the whole credits either.
So if they did,
Wait, did
I
they
hope
do
someone
it
tells
on
us.
episode 2?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not
but
Marvel.
yeah. But I will say, so far, really enjoying the show,
Oh yeah, dude, that's great.
and it does make me it does excite me for what James Gunn is doing with the whole DCU, how he's gonna set it
Right?
up.
Yeah. I'm kind
You
of
know,
excited for Superman.
yes, I'm actually really excited for Superman. A couple more. It's more so a couple things, just because like the guy that they got to play Superman,
Mm-hmm.
David Cornsweet, he's a Juilliard trained actor.
Oh,
So that to me makes me think of who the last Juilliard trained actor we had play Superman, Christopher Reeve.
yeah.
So I'm really excited in that sense because I feel like because he's Juilliard trained, he's gonna bring a lot of you know sensibilities
Yeah.
that I like. I really liked Henry Cavill as Superman because I felt like physically he looked the part,
Oh yeah.
and during certain moments he played the part really well. But I just think it's more so the writing. They never really gave his Superman the time to like be that person of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with this Superman coming out, from what I've seen with James Gunn, he says the tone for each movie isn't going to be the same tone. Like Batman's tone is
Yeah.
not going to be Superman's tone. The tone is what going to be is what fits the movies.
I
Like
like it.
whatever is needed for those movies,
Yeah.
that's what the tone is going to be. So I'm very excited to see what James Gunn does with Superman, just because I think he's going to bring back the Superman that saves a cat from a tree,
Exactly.
just because
Yeah.
someone asked.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a clip I saw, not a clip, but like someone had like they were like when they were shooting Superman, someone from far away with their cell phone was like catching it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where like superheroes land and they're walking by, and there's a group of kids like standing there with like all these adults, and so the kids are just standing there as all these superheroes walk by. I guess they just defeated something or whatnot. And then when Superman starts like lands and starts walking by too, the kids all run up to him,
Oh
and he
yeah.
picks up one of the kids and he like carries them and walks with the kids as they all follow along.
Mm.
And that's what I want. I because Superman for me has always been my favorite superhero.
Yeah. No.
And well, like it's like this. Like Superman is my favorite when it comes to DC.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America is my favorite when it comes to Marvel.
Same colors.
No, it's because of the personalities
No,
of
I'm just
like
saying, but
Superman.
they have the same colors.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so like for me, Superman is the type of person that he's a regular person who just wants to do good.
Yeah.
He just wants to contribute to the people. Like he doesn't care if you're rich or poor, if you've committed crimes in the past. He does not care. He just wants to help you in the moment that when you need it. And that's what I want to see, and I'm very excited for it. And I'm very excited for after seeing Creature Commandos what James Gunn has already done. I forgot to mention this. The girl that voices Cersei,
Yeah.
she plays Yennefer in The Witcher.
Oh. Interesting.
So to me, I just thought it was funny. I was like, oh, because she worked with Henry Cavill.
Yeah. Right. Hey, Superman.
He was Superman.
And he was.
I mean,
the
he'll always
Wolverine.
be Superman for sure. Like
Yeah.
he's now in part of this historical like icon of all these people that have played this character.
Yeah.
What's it
Brandon
called?
Ruth.
Yeah, Brandon Routh. Is it Routh or Ruth?
That's probably Ralph, actually.
Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh, Henry Cavill, and then David Cornsweet, live action films.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you have the television shows that had live action, right?
Yeah.
So you have what's his name? You have Dean Cain, who no one really remembers. Did you ever? It's from the '90s show Superman and Lois.
Yeah, I did actually.
Oh no, Lois and Clark. Lois and Clark.
Yeah, Lois Clark. That was a good one.
Yeah. So, which now that I think about it, Dean Cain looks very Asian, which makes sense because he's half Japanese.
Oh.
And he never had like the blue eyes. He has like brown eyes.
Yeah, that's funny.
but yeah, so it's Dean Cain, and then there was actually another there.
Tom Wellington.
There's a yeah, Tom Wellington, and then
Smallville.
there's a show recently that just came out. Let me see. Oh shit.
Yeah, on the CW.
I yeah.
Yeah.
Give
Live
me one
action.
second. I accidentally clicked something that made my screen like just super big, and I'm like, how do I close this now?
Oh god. Technical
Fantastic.
difficulties.
Yeah. Uh, what's his name? From Superman and Lois. Tyler Hoechlin,
Okay, yeah.
because he was playing Superman from the Arrowverse,
Yeah.
and then decided to give him his own TV show. Which, if no one has seen that TV show yet, I recommend giving it a watch.
Really?
It is. It's really good.
Okay.
They set it up as its own universe,
Well, yeah.
so it's not taking place in the Arrowverse.
Hmm.
And it had originally it was gonna be on HBO Max,
Oh.
but they decided to just put it on CW.
Yeah.
But it has HBO Max money,
Yeah, I like that.
so production everything looks pretty top tier. And the beginning of that show is great. Like the first episode, the way they introduced Tyler Hoechlin's character as Superman, like his life
Mm.
is great. It's what you want to see in Superman, but also the show that series just ended this year
Yeah.
because of James Gunn and Peter Safran. Apparently, James Gunn and Peter Safran didn't want that show to get canceled.
Oh.
Because originally Superman and Lois was going to be 7 seasons,
Yeah.
but it was more the heads of Warner Brothers themselves.
I mean, dude, they
They
do that
wanted
a lot.
they wanted to cancel it because they wanted to kind of have a fresh start, have
Yeah.
only one universe, which is the DCU now.
Yeah, kind of like Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this also excites me for the Green Lantern TV show.
Oh, yeah. I heard
Did you
that's
hear they
coming.
already they casted Jon Stewart already?
Who?
It's he is an actor that's he now voices Mufasa in the new Mufasa animated
Live
Mufasa
action?
movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he is also in Rebel Ridge.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, so
Yeah,
for
so-
that one, are they going to do like a 3-man Green Lantern or just Jon Stewart?
So it's Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like True Detectives
Buddy cop.
sort of vibe. And it's gonna be them investigating something in Middle America.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
So apparently, I remember when James Gunn had announced that the show,
Mhm.
the idea is they're investigating something that leads to a larger reaching villain that's part of the DCU, like that
Kinda like
basically kind of.
Marvel.
I think my assumption is that leads to what creates the Justice League.
Yeah. Ooh.
So Aaron Pierre
Oh, okay.
Plays-
Yeah,
plays Jon Stewart. But yeah, this show. I mean, when do you want to review? I guess we'll review it. How 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now? What do you want to do for the next couple episodes?
Since we did a mid one right now, we could do like the 7th one when that comes out.
Okay, sounds good.
'Cause
So
then we'll
far,
have
what would
4.
you rate it?
All right, so far,
Yeah,
I probably gave it an 8.
I think I'm around that with you.
Yeah.
8, or if I think episode 3, I really liked, so I think
Mm-hmm.
I might bring it up to 8.3, 8.4.
Okay.
Not exactly an 8.5 yet, but I
Right.
do enjoy it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very fun, and I'm excited to see the rest.
Yeah, same. Very excited. But yeah, that's our review. We finally finished.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, damn, an hour in.
Yeah, but yeah, if you haven't seen it, I mean, obviously people have probably saw this, but
Oh, yeah,
definitely
totally.
give it a watch if you haven't seen it, even though we spoiled a lot already. Like, just give it a watch. We won't review it again until the 7th episode, so watch it with us.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I guess we'll see everyone again next time when we're back reviewing the 7th, like all up 4, 5, and 6 and 7.
7, yeah, 4. Yeah,
That's
4
gonna be like
episodes.
2 hours.
Dude, I know. Dave's gonna have to recap every episode.
Well, I'm recapping just so we have something to talk about.
But I'm like, we don't have to recap for that long.
But yeah, I guess we'll see everyone next time when we do it.
Cool. See you on the next one. Ciao.
Yeah. Bye.